The envelope trembled in Michael's weathered hands as he stared at the return address, his daughter's handwriting after 5 years of silence. If you've ever felt the weight of estrangement or known the ache of a parent's broken heart, this story might just change your life. Stay with me until the end for a moment that will remind you why second chances matter more than we ever realize. If this story touches your heart, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more stories that celebrate the complicated beauty of family relationships. Michael Collins stood at his kitchen window, watching raindrops race down the glass while his coffee grew cold beside him. At 58, his life had settled into a predictable rhythm: work at the hardware store, quiet dinners alone, and weekends spent tinkering with projects that never quite filled the emptiness of his small suburban home. The house had grown too quiet since Diana left him 8 years ago, taking their daughter Emma with her. The divorce hadn't been ugly, just sad in the way that endings often are when two people simply stop seeing each other. But the real fracture came later, when Emma turned 18 and stopped returning his calls. 5 years had passed since he'd heard her voice. "You're too controlling, Dad," she had said during their last conversation. "I need space to figure out who I am without you telling me what to do." Her words had cut deeper than any knife. He'd only wanted to protect her, to guide her away from the mistakes he'd made in his own youth. Instead, he'd pushed her away entirely. Michael's phone buzzed on the counter, startling him from his thoughts. It was Hector from next door. "Still on for poker tonight?" Hector asked when Michael answered. "Yeah, I'll be there," Michael replied, though his heart wasn't in it. These monthly games with neighborhood acquaintances were the closest thing he had to a social life these days. After hanging up, Michael moved to his living room and sat heavily in his recliner. Family photos still lined the mantel: Emma's high school graduation, her childhood ballet recitals, fishing trips when she was small enough to sit on his shoulders. He'd left them up all these years, like artifacts from a museum of happier times. The doorbell rang, an unusual occurrence on a Tuesday afternoon. Michael heaved himself from the chair, joints protesting slightly, and made his way to the door. When he opened it, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. A little girl stood on his porch, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, with familiar hazel eyes and a determined expression. Behind her, at the bottom of the steps, stood Emma, his Emma, looking both terrified and hopeful. "Are you my grandpa?" the little girl asked, her voice clear and confident. Michael's knees nearly buckled. He began, but words failed him completely. "My name is Lily," the child continued, extending a small hand formally. "My mom says you are her dad, which makes you my grandpa. I've been wanting to meet you for a very long time." Emma took a hesitant step forward. "Hi, Dad," she said softly. "I'm sorry to show up like this. We can go if—" "No," Michael interrupted, finding his voice at last. "Please don't go. Please come in." As they stepped into the house, Michael noticed Emma's nervous glance around the living room, taking in the unchanged photos, the same furniture, the life that had remained in suspended animation since she'd left it. "You have a granddaughter," Emma said unnecessarily, her hand resting protectively on Lily's shoulder. "She's 5.5. 5.5. The math wasn't difficult. Emma had been pregnant when she stopped speaking to him. She'd had a child, his grandchild, and he hadn't known. "Would you like some juice?" Michael asked Lily, defaulting to the practical when emotions threatened to overwhelm him. "I think I have apple in the fridge." "Yes, please," Lily replied politely. "Apple is my favorite." While Michael busied himself in the kitchen, he could hear Emma's hushed voice explaining to Lily that she should be on her best behavior. His hands shook as he poured the juice, spilling a few drops on the counter. When he returned to the living room, Lily had discovered his collection of model trains in the corner cabinet. "Do they work?" she asked, pointing at the display. "They do," Michael replied. "I built that set when your mom was about your age." Emma's eyes widened slightly. "You kept it all this time?" Michael nodded. I keep everything that matters. The weight of those words hung in the air between them. Can I see them run? Lily asked, oblivious to the undercurrents of emotion. Of course, Michael said, grateful for the distraction. He opened the cabinet and carefully lifted out the main engine. This one's called the Mountaineer. It was your mom's favorite. As Michael set up the track on the coffee table, Lily watched with fascination, asking questions about each car and component. Emma sat stiffly on the edge of the sofa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Why did you come today? Michael finally asked when Lily was thoroughly engrossed in watching the train make its circuit. Emma took a deep breath. Lily's been asking about you for months. I've been telling her stories about when I was little. About fishing and camping and how you taught me to ride a bike. Her voice wavered. And the more I told her, the more I realized how much I missed you. How much I regretted letting things get so broken between us. Michael's throat tightened. I missed you too, Em. Every single day. I was so angry with you, Emma continued. You didn't approve of Jason. Lily's father? Michael asked. Emma nodded. He left before she was born. You were right about him, and that made me even angrier. I was too proud to admit it. I'm sorry, Michael said. I should have found a better way to talk to you. I was afraid of losing you, and that's exactly what happened anyway. Lily looked up from the train set. Mom cries sometimes when she looks at old pictures, she announced with a child's unfiltered honesty. She said you might not want to see us, but I told her grandpas always want to see their grandkids. That's what books say. Michael felt tears welling in his eyes. Your mom was right about a lot of things, but you're right about this one, Lily. I very much want to see you both. Emma wiped at her own eyes. We moved back to town last month. I got a job at the community college. I've been driving by the house almost every day, trying to work up the courage to stop. I'm glad you did, Michael said simply. They spent the afternoon reacquainting themselves with each other. Lily showed Michael her favorite stuffed animal, a well-loved rabbit named Hoppy that she'd brought in her backpack. Emma shared cautious details about her life as a single mother, her return to school to finish her degree in education, her small apartment across town. When dinner time approached, Michael suggested pizza, remembering it had been Emma's favorite. The smile that crossed her face told him some things hadn't changed. As they ate around the kitchen table, Michael noticed how Emma had matured. The defiant teenager was gone, replaced by a thoughtful young woman who guided Lily with gentle patience. He felt a surge of pride mixed with regret for the years he'd missed. Would you like to see your old room? Michael asked Emma after dinner. I haven't changed it much. Emma hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. They climbed the stairs, Lily bouncing ahead excitedly. When Emma pushed open the door to her childhood bedroom, she gasped softly. The lavender walls, the bookshelf filled with her favorite young adult novels, the bulletin board still pinned with concert tickets and photos of high school friends, it was all exactly as she'd left it. You really didn't change anything, she whispered. I always hoped you'd come back, Michael admitted. Even when it seemed impossible. Lily immediately climbed onto the bed, bouncing experimentally. This was my mom's bed when she was little? It was, Michael confirmed. And that rocking chair in the corner is where I used to read her bedtime stories. Do you know any good ones? Lily asked hopefully. I think I remember a few, Michael said with a smile. As the evening grew late, Emma checked her watch reluctantly. We should probably go. It's past Lily's bedtime. Michael felt panic rise in his chest. Would they disappear again? Will I see you again soon? Emma's expression softened. We could come for dinner this weekend, if you'd like. I'd like that very much, Michael said, relief washing over him. As they prepared to leave, Lily tugged on Michael's hand. "Grandpa, can I leave Hoppy here? So he can get to know you better? I can get him when we come back." Michael knelt down to her level, overwhelmed by this simple gesture of trust. "I would be honored to look after Hoppy until you return." Emma watched this exchange with glistening eyes. At the door, she hesitated, then stepped forward to give Michael a quick, awkward hug. "I'm sorry it took so long," she whispered. "What matters is that you're here now," he replied. After they left, Michael stood in the suddenly quiet house, holding Lily's stuffed rabbit. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty, it felt full of possibility. The next morning, Michael called the hardware store and did something he'd never done in 15 years of employment. He requested time off. 2 weeks, to be exact. "Everything okay, Mike?" his manager asked, concerned by this unprecedented request. "Better than okay," Michael replied. "My daughter's back in my life. She has a little girl, I'm a grandfather." With his vacation approved, Michael set to work. He spent that day cleaning the house thoroughly, opening windows to let fresh air circulate through rooms that had grown stale with solitude. He changed the sheets in Emma's old room and found himself wondering if they might someday stay overnight. The following day, he drove to the toy store and stood bewildered in the girls' section, trying to imagine what a 5-year-old might enjoy. He settled on a set of building blocks, a coloring book with colored pencils, and after much deliberation, a child-sized fishing rod. On his way home, he stopped at the grocery store, filling his cart with ingredients for meals he remembered Emma loving as a child: his special spaghetti sauce, homemade mac and cheese, the chocolate chip cookie recipe that had been his mother's. By Friday, anticipation had built to nearly unbearable levels. Michael found himself checking the clock every few minutes, counting down to Saturday's dinner. When his phone rang that evening, his heart sank, fearing cancellation. Instead, it was Emma. "Dad? I was wondering, would it be okay if we came over tomorrow morning instead? Lily has a soccer game in the afternoon, and she's insisting that her grandpa should be there." Michael gripped the phone tightly. "She wants me to come?" "She's told everyone on her team about you," Emma said, a smile evident in her voice. "The grandfather who builds trains and has a special chair that rocks." "I'll be there," Michael promised immediately. "What time should I come over tomorrow?" "Actually," Emma hesitated, "I was thinking maybe we could make breakfast at your place. Lily keeps talking about those Mickey Mouse pancakes you used to make for me." Michael's heart swelled. "You remember those?" "Of course I do, Dad. I remember a lot of things." After they hung up, Michael went to the garage and dug through boxes until he found what he was looking for: the Mickey Mouse pancake mold, tucked away with other remnants of Emma's childhood. Saturday morning arrived with golden sunshine streaming through the windows. Michael had been up since dawn, preparing the kitchen, setting the table with the good plates, making sure everything was perfect. When the doorbell rang at 8 o'clock, he took a deep breath before answering. This time, the sight of Emma and Lily on his doorstep filled him with joy rather than shock. "We brought blueberries for the pancakes," Lily announced, holding up a small container. "Perfect," Michael said. "Mickey Mouse always looks better with blueberry buttons." In the kitchen, they fell into a surprisingly comfortable routine. Emma remembered where everything was kept, reaching for mixing bowls and measuring cups without having to ask. Lily stood on a chair beside Michael at the stove, watching with delight as he poured batter into the special mold. "Just like I used to make for your mom," Michael explained, flipping a perfectly formed Mickey pancake onto Lily's plate. "Did Mom help cook too?" Lily asked, drowning her pancake in syrup. "She did," Michael confirmed. "By the time she was 8, she could make these all by herself." "Really?" Lily looked at her mother with newfound respect. Emma laughed. "I wasn't quite as good as Grandpa, though. My Mickeys always ended up looking more like bears with big ears." As they ate, Michael noticed a tension in Emma's shoulders that hadn't been there during their first visit. She seemed to be building up to something. "Dad," she finally said, setting down her fork. "There's something I need to tell you." Michael braced himself, fear immediately rising that this reconciliation might be short-lived. "I've been looking at houses," Emma continued. "The apartment is too small for us, and with my new job." She took a deep breath. "There's one I really like. It's just 3 blocks from here." Michael stared at her, hardly daring to believe what she was suggesting. "Would that be okay?" Emma asked, suddenly sounding like a little girl again, seeking his approval. "Us living so close?" "Okay?" Michael repeated, his voice thick with emotion. "Emma, that would be more than okay. That would be wonderful. We could walk to Grandpa's house." Lily exclaimed, catching on to the significance of the conversation. "Yes, you could," Michael agreed, his mind racing with possibilities: school mornings when Emma needed help, weekends spent teaching Lily to fish at the nearby pond, holidays together after so many spent alone. "I wasn't sure," Emma admitted. "I didn't know if you'd want us so close, if it might feel like we were intruding on your life." Michael reached across the table to take her hand. "You and Lily are my life, Em. These past few days have reminded me of that. Having you nearby would be the greatest gift I could imagine." Emma squeezed his hand, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "I've missed you so much, Dad. I was just too stubborn to admit it. I missed you too, sweetheart. Every single day." Lily looked between them, confused by the tears but sensing the importance of the moment. "Does this mean we get to have Mickey pancakes more often?" Michael laughed, breaking the emotional tension. "It means you can have Mickey pancakes anytime you want." After breakfast, they drove separately to Lily's soccer game, where Michael sat proudly on the sidelines, cheering for his granddaughter. Several parents introduced themselves, curious about the new grandfather Lily had been talking about all week. "She's quite the little athlete," one mother commented as Lily dribbled the ball down the field. "Gets that from her mother," Michael replied proudly. Emma played soccer all through high school. When the game ended, with Lily's team losing 2-1 but everyone receiving participation medals anyway, they returned to Michael's house. While Lily napped on the couch, exhausted from her athletic exertions, Michael and Emma sat at the kitchen table with cups of coffee. "I'd like to see this house you're considering," Michael said. Emma pulled out her phone and showed him photos of a modest 2-bedroom bungalow with a small backyard. "It needs some work," she admitted. "The kitchen is outdated, and the bathroom tile is this awful pink color." Michael scrolled through the pictures, recognizing the potential beneath the cosmetic issues. "Nothing that can't be fixed," he said. "I could help with the renovations." Emma looked up, hopeful. "Really? That would be amazing, Dad. I'm a bit overwhelmed by all the things that need doing." "It would be my pleasure," Michael assured her. "I've picked up a few skills over the years." They spent the next hour making plans, with Emma describing her vision for each room and Michael offering practical suggestions. It felt natural, this collaboration, as if the years of estrangement had somehow dissolved in the face of this new shared purpose. When Lily woke from her nap, they took her to see the house from the outside. She immediately ran to the front yard, pointing out the perfect branch for a swing on the old oak tree. "Can we put one there, Grandpa?" she asked, looking up at him with those hazel eyes so like her mother's. "If your mom buys this house," Michael promised, "that will be the first thing we do." The following weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Emma made an offer on the house, which was accepted, and closing was set for the end of the